Really? And they say it's not a good idea to do it.
Huh?
It's not
Because you see
Elizabeth.
your family
Yeah.
differently.
Am I getting in your way if I walk
You
through?
don't see any of the bad parts.
Yeah,
or
but
somebody
that's all right.
else cut it or not.
Are you filming?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll go around.
but they'll just get started.
I'll go around.
Because I don't have to worry about hair. Looking in blue, you don't need to worry about the eyes. Really? My husband said no, because when I was doing this one, I was working, still working, and he came in and he was
Thank you so much for putting me together with John.
Oh, good. Round circle.
Yeah, I have no idea when I saw this. We had complaints whenever I tried to post a video.
On your website?
Our hosting people said,
Just get rid of that.
can't have that much.
No, he said no.
No, not gonna go. Or we'll charge you. So, the curators said, well, to catalog everything out, which is fine,
But it was.
on the computer
database, this is a fog can.
So by time I went through, drop this
Yeah, those, and you back them
video.
up.
So John taking the problem.
You got one for a small pig or a large pig?
No ads, direct
Candy, if you're gonna use something like that when my kids were 4-H.
I'm just an amateur player.
Yeah, I know,
I don't
right?
know.
He's been, well, he's had to deal with this stuff. I mean, we have a YouTube channel. We have about 400 videos on
Yeah,
it.
when they first read it, he
And
goes
you have to
right
really,
to
and
it.
you have to watch in the settings and they want to put ads in there. And you can make
Put
it
a
so that
straight
they
tool
put
like that,
ads
then
in
it was full.
You got me through it.
Did he come over and ask me a question about it? Quite often, sometimes they would answer.
I'm glad it's cleared. That was sure last night. It was coming down pretty good. I thought,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to be inside.
Really?
Have you been up for our fiddlers?
I need to get up here these weekends. They keep me
Yeah, I
in
looked at
home.
that.
Is this the barn where it's,
Yeah,
how
the right
did
shape
the,
for
how
a
did the
brand.
market
That's
go?
what I say, weird Dan, you know, weird kind of nuts.
Calling each of the vendors to see if they wanted to come June 5th or July 7th for the next one.
Really?
Two shorts in May.
Right. We kind of feel to get everybody to come up in July, since a lot of people are probably in town anyway.
Yeah, for the 4th, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
We may do both,
why not?
but the guy who did it all by himself and he said, well, this is our truck wagon.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a reproduction of a chuck wagon.
Where did you get it?
But I've done my research now and I can do a 20-minute bit on truck wagons.
And this is the new blacksmith
That
shop?
could be the blacksmith shop.
Great. That's coming up fast.
Yep.
It's amazing. This place is just really,
Really interesting place. The past week, Marilyn Holdroyd brought up her employees who had never been here
oh, really?
from back south.
I'm not saying it
Well, yeah.
They don't have the building. And the
They've never
employees
been
just
in
came
here.
up. So we did a private tour for them. And then the afternoon, People Services brought up 10 developmentally disabled people. And we did a private tour with them. We do it once a month.
But why
They are so
is
great.
metal easy?
Yeah, they're head and shoulders above some of the kids at science camp.
I bet. And the science camp is held here, right?
Yep, May 2nd. What we do is we have the kids come here in the morning, and have go down to the observatory in Kelseyville, and then they meet here for lunch, and we have stations set up around here. That, they move, we ring the bell out there, and they move from station to station. And at lunchtime, they eat their lunch down the barn, and
Well, actually, I keep living in this bar, just for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
Crystal up to Golden Eagle.
Oh, wow.
It is really cool. This year, we're having, last year we did a demonstration of the working telephone.
Oh, really?
They work. We have a friend out in Middletown that wired them for us. You crank it here, it rings down there. It's really cool. And if you look,
Science camp just
you
love
can
it.
see there are antique insulators here. Bare
Yeah.
12-gauge wire going down there, antique insulators up there.
Yeah, it seems last time I was here, I was like, what are those for?
The phones actually
Really
work.
work. That's
But the one I loved, that in January, we had a crew up here taking down Christmas decorations. They go down there and they take down Christmas decorations. So we got done up here, we're ready to hop open the line, take the munchies. So I crank the phone, and Greg Dills, our CEO, answers that. He goes, barn. As if I might have gotten the wrong number or something.
Sure, that would be great. That's a little chilly, isn't it? That brisk air, okay. We do what we can.
So we,
My name's Mary. I'm Pete's wife.
Elizabeth.
You too. Yeah, when I think about,
That's how I.
July 2007, fell in this building.
Oh my
I gave
gosh.
an expedition that was in there.
And it's just, when Linda sent me the little, kind of the list of accomplishments.
But that one that you have in there.
I was sitting there reading it, and it's so amazing. I mean, it's just incredible. 8 years.
all volunteers too.
When you get the old.
All the construction
ones
here is
like
being
these,
done by
though, do you have to do
volunteers.
something to them to clean them up? or something?
Our
Or is there- is
big.
it smooth enough for you?
Yeah, and if it's got too much stuff on it, I
It was
take
in the fall, they paid for it.
oven cleaner. And I
Last
spray with
year, the
oven
fiddlers, we
cleaner.
had to cancel the fiddlers.
They all have that big crap on it. I spray with oven cleaner, throw them in
Yeah,
a
it's something
plastic
else.
bag and set them out in the sun for 24 hours.
No,
And then I bring
nothing.
them back in and I spray
I figure I'll
what
get
can,
Suzanne
set
to call.
down the rest, and then I put a
She's the one
primer.
that makes all the arrangements
I
anyway.
use a sealer and then a primer.
Yeah.
And then I take it.
It'll come through.
There is quite a bit of work on it.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, thank you again. John's been a big help.
Oh, well, anytime we can be of help.
Anyway, did you hear that the Main Street Bakery in Kelseyville is closed?
Yeah, just now.
Yeah.
Pictures and some stuff I was just gonna tell
How
them.
am I supposed to ask you questions if you don't give a speech?
And I'm gonna tell them how bad you are.
Well, that's a good stuff. That's a good.
You're on my first topic.
It was very sad because Emily said, great. He said,
I brought pictures.
You don't have any pictures of the post office head signs on the wall, do you?
Started so you
Well, I
can
don't
get
have a
her
lot of
intro.
info.
Yeah, okay. Are you gonna introduce her?
Sure.
It's in the books that the Historical Society has.
I want to welcome everybody to the Eli Stage Stop today. This is one of our history days, and we're lucky today to have Floraine, one of the Lake County
Pioneer.
pioneers. And she's going to give us a little bit of information about Lake County history and the stuff that she's seen, which she's already told me a bunch about, just standing around talking.
So now we're through it.
We're through. Oh, that was it. Okay, we got, no.
There you go.
And it's really nice to be able to have what is the word I want to not ambassadors from the past. No.
Close.
What is your, oh, encyclopedia.
Yeah.
She's an encyclopedia of Lake County history. And we're lucky to have her here. We're lucky that she is willing to share some of this information with us. And I'm looking forward to learning as much as I can about Lake County history.
We've got somebody right here that you should have.
Yes.
Mike, that's Mike Ananis, and
No,
he
Mike
knows-
Salter.
Huh?
That's Mike Salter.
Oh, sorry, Mike Salter. Like Mike Ananis.
I'm not
Mike
old
Salter,
enough.
but he knows everything.
You're pretty damn.
He knows
old.
everything.
Yeah, he does.
Look at him. You can tell he knows everything. Well, we'll sign him up and get him here another month or two.
He would be good, really. He knows all about Buckingham Park and all of those places.
All right. Good. Great.
What do you know about it?
Tell us about yourself, Floraine.
Okay.
Tell us, who are you and how did you get here?
Okay, I'm Floraine Chalk. I was born and raised in Kelseyville. And I'm just going to give you a couple little blogs about Kelseyville here. In 1958, a post office was opened in Kelseyville. It was called Uncle Sam.
58?
1958.
1858.
I meant 1858.
Oh, that's.
1858.
Is that when you were born?
That's right.
That's too late, I was here.
Yeah. 1958.
Don't get confused.
Okay, and that name was given by the Hammond family, which is a very old family here. And this information came out of the books that the Historical Society sells. I think this was from the Legends of Lake County. And then in 1879, the Uncle Sam Post Office was named Kelseyville Post Office. So that was the time then that you could send things to Kelseyville. The Martin Hammock family were the first white people to arrive on the west banks of Kelsey Creek after Stone and Kelsey were killed. And that was in 1854. More white people, including the Reeves family, came to this area. They came by Donner Pass to Lake County, and the Reeves had a son, George Reeves, and he was the first baby born in Lake County.
Wow.
And this information came out of your books. And this was about me. Okay, I was born and grew up in Kelseyville. It has been, pardon me, I got a bad throat. It has been and will be my home forever. Both my parents were born and grew up in Kelseyville. My mother, Louise Wrench, and father, John Ilvin Saderlin, were married in 1929. I have one brother, Floyd. My mother lived at the same home, ranch, her entire life. She passed away in 2007 at age 96. My throat is kind of bad. My father passed away in 1972 at age 64. I graduated from Kelseyville High School in 1949. There were only 72 students in the entire school. And I say we had the largest class. We had 21 people. And I graduated in 1949. After my father's death, my mother donated the land, which is now the Kelseyville Park, and it was built in memory of my father, Elvin Saberlin. A plaque is on the back side of the little old Kelseyville. Thank you. It's on the back side of the little old Kelseyville courthouse. My parents had many businesses in Kelseyville. And the little old jailhouse has been moved to that area. And I can remember playing in that when I was growing up.
Probably
It-
should
it
have
was
spent a little
left- it
time in it.
Huh?
But you probably should have spent a little time in it.
That's my son. Okay, I remember when Kelseyville burned in July of 1942. The farmers fought the fire with spray rigs filled with water. 6 businesses burned. Kelseyville had no fire department. And I have pictures of Kelseyville burning. But somebody might want to look at later.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the first time?
I
you
have
done
these, I have these blown up, I was gonna leave for the Historical Society, but here it is. There were 6 businesses that burned. There was, Barrett's Grocery Store. And my father at that time was just, my father was going to, buy out a business that belonged to Bert Cole. And that was a pump business and the John Deere dealership. And that store burned.
that? I see.
And then there was Doherty's Hazel Reel. Does anyone remember Hazel Reel clothing store?
Sure did, sure did.
Okay, her store burned. And next to that was Doherty's grocery store. It was a 2-story building, and they lived in the upstairs. And next to that was Cleve Campbell. Had it was a pool room and a bar, and they sold food there. And next to that was the barber shop. And the barber shop pole remained intact.
I'll see him
And
later.
next to that was a 2-story building in Kelseyville, which is, was the post office years ago. And that's that whole side of Kelseyville. There wasn't much left. Later, my father bought the area where all of those businesses were, and he built that store that is there now. I don't know if you've noticed a painted sign that's on the top of one store. That's the store that was built by my father. And he had a John Deere dealership and a pump place and a car dealership. He had quite a bit. And where the Kelseyville Park is now, my father had a car repair place, a shop. And after he passed away, my mother tore that down, and that's when she donated that land back for the park. They had either a 50 or 100-year lease on that property, and my mother gave that up so the park could be built. And that was the end of that building. The jail was taken away years ago, and then it came back in, well, we were there when they brought it back. I didn't bring that, but I had something on that. I put the Lake County Fruit Exchange was a pear packing plant, and it burned in 1947, and that location is now the Canocti Growers, where they have wine. And I went to that fire. So nice. And in 1950, on the other side of Kelseyville, the fire on the south side of the street burned a grocery store, and it was a grocery store owned by Doherty's and a jewelry store owned by Lloyd Funk. After Doherty's burned on that other side of the street, they bought this little grocery store on the corner of the other side of the street, and that eventually burned also. So the Doherty's moved to Oregon. Originally, Kelsey and Stone were buried on the hill just south of the old metal bridge going into town. The freeway went through the gravesite, thus a monument was built next to the bridge. And shall I tell the story about the little boys?
Yeah.
Well, there were 4 boys. One evening, we didn't, we had a town council, was all they had as far as law enforcement went. But 4 of the boys were up on the hill, and they were playing cowboys, and they ran across these old boards, and they lifted up the boards, and up came a bone. So they thought, boy, they found animal bones. So they gathered up some wood and brush, and they built a nice fire, and it was seen in town, and the town constable went up there. Well, they had dug up Stone and Kelsey. So their punishment was they had to march through town with flowers. They had to rebury the bones and build a little wire fence around the grave. And that was their punishment. And I can remember I saw the boys going through town, and I might say everyone knows Dietmar Ranker, who has Ranker's vegetable stand. Well, Dietmar was one of them. There was Dietmar and a boy named Richard Warfield and Hank Smith. I'm sure you knew Hank Smith. And I can't think of the other boy, and I'm not sure if Alfred was there or not. But everyone in town went out by the sidewalk and watched the boys march through town with flowers. And they didn't have a lot of punishment, but that's what it was. Then when on the land, which is now the Big Valley Rancheria, the Canocti Casino, that was owned by a man named Henry Wrench. That was my mother's grandfather. He had 200 acres. And in the early 1900s, the state wanted that land for a reservation. Henry Wrench said that land was his home and he did not want to sell. The state, or Sacramento, took Henry's property by eminent domain. Henry was so mad he moved to Shed, Oregon, a small town near Corvallis. His family is still there. And Canocti Casino is on that land. But that was 200 acres. And let's see. I was buried 58 years when Bill passed away in 2009. We had 2 boys. My throat is really acting.
That's the one.
2 boys, William Chalk III and Bob Chalk. There's Bob right there. And Bob still lives in Kelseyville, and they are 4th generation. My first job was working at the Argonaut store, if anyone knows where that was.
Yeah.
It was where Riley's Feed Store is, or the Canocti Growers, where the road comes to a V there. There was a store there. It was a store and a grocery store, and they sold odds and ends, and a restaurant. Everyone that worked, not everyone, but most everybody that worked at the fruit exchange, the pear packing place, went over there and had lunch. They always fixed a hot meal for the packers, or the fruit workers. And I had my first job there. I got 25 cents a day, and I rode my bicycle to work. And I washed dishes. We washed dishes in a great big metal tub. I don't know how they dried them, I just washed them. But I know we washed dishes in that tub, and then there was another tub of water that had Clorox in it, and they had to be dipped in the Clorox water, and I don't know what happened to them after that. But I can't remember ever drying a dish, so I guess they just drained dry, I don't know. But at one time, the Argonaut was, they wanted to, was that going to be the county seat or something like that? I don't know, but or it was going to be a town. It was actually listed like a town. Then everyone knows about Gas Seal. I see there's a sign for sale out there now.
I don't know about
They,
it.
they don't, some of them don't.
Some of them don't know gas bill.
Well, I don't know that much about it either, except there was a gas well there, and several families in Kelseyville used the gas for their home use.
Tell them where it is. Tell them where it
And
is.
Tell them where it is.
You mean natural gas?
Tell them where
it was,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, I guess it's natural, it's came
Yeah,
out of the
I guess
ground.
Yeah, it's natural.
Kind of by the high school in
Yeah,
Kelseyville,
it came
between
right
there
out
and
of
the
the ground.
jack pipe.
Right behind the jackpot, yeah.
But I didn't know we had
Every
any
once in a
natural
while, when it
gas.
rains real hard, you can
That's
smell
it,
it.
huh?
I think it's.
There were about 6 homes in Kelseyville that used that for use.
Yeah.
One was a Moser family, remember? That's where the school building is
Oh,
now.
that's where the gas hill is.
That's Gas
Right
Hill.
there, yeah.
I noticed there's a sign out there for sale now. I saw that today.
Yeah, it's been a for example, one.
Has it? I can remember, as a kid, we would go up to the cemetery. I lived not too far from the cemetery on Bell Hill. And we would go up there and run water in a can, and it would just kind of spurt out. And then we would let that settle, and then this oil stuff would come to the top, and we'd light matches there and watch it burn. I spent too much time up there. I remember I took a bouquet of flowers once to my mother, and I got a good licking because I picked them at the cemetery. And then I went by the old cemetery this morning, so I just jotted down a few things. At the old Pioneer Cemetery,
Where's it at?
it's on Renfro. Oh, on Renfro. And that was from 1861 to 1884, and there are approximately 100 graves there. And then in 1884, the Oddfellows built a cemetery on Bell Hill, which is the one they use now. And then in the early or late 20s and early 30s, several of the graves were moved to the Bell Hill Cemetery. And I just looked at the monument for Stone and Kelsey this morning. And I didn't realize that site is the site of the first adobe home in Kelseyville. And it is registered by the state, so landmark.
That's the monument right there by the bridge.
Right there by the bridge, A man by the name of Sabin built that monument out of that obsidian. That's about everything I know about Kelseyville.
You probably know a lot more.
What fountain?
Gordon Saban.
Oh, that we had?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, when I got out of high school,
I
I,
remember him
well, my folks had several businesses in Kelseyville.
like a flatbed truck.
And they bought soda fountain and pool room, and my brother and I had the soda fountain and pool room for a couple of years, and he went in the service. And he had a pump business, irrigation business. He was a John Deere dealer, probably the largest John Deere dealer in Northern California.
What years were those, Floraine? You know what years that might have been, the fountain and the,
Yeah. Went in there in 1949 and we went out in 51.
Where was the pool room located?
It was,
In today's,
what is in there now, it's
Right
that
on-
two-story building.
On which side?
Main Street in
It's on the
Kelseyville
south side of
between
the street.
Second and Third Street, where most of the buildings
It's
are.
where, it's a building
food
that
center
Garcia
side.
built.
On the
Okay.
food center side, okay.
It was down there by where the,
There was a barber shop right in that area.
Yeah,
Area had a
well, it's the
barber
only,
shop
it's the
there.
first two-story building on
Okay.
that side of the
and
street.
everything for
And we
variety
had the
store.
whole lower part.
Yeah, there was a variety store.
was down
Yeah.
there a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Uh-huh.
Where the 8 Ball was,
We had the 8 Ball.
yeah. There was the
And,
restaurant and the pool room there,
Yeah,
and the 2 women owned it when I came.
we had 4 pool tables and a ping pong table.
Remember the fish bowl?
Yeah,
Yep,
oh yeah.
yep.
We had a very good business there. We went through 20 pounds of hamburger a day at least.
wow.
And you could get, I think it was 6 hamburgers to a pound. And there were times when we were open 24 hours a day because people were in there playing pool. And we had a lot of young people played in there. And we had magazines. We had a very good business in there. And it was- it
What
was
time
a lot of
period
work.
was that, Floraine?
Huh?
What time period was that?
And from 49 to 51.
Oh.
was there any information on how those fires started when it burned the buildings in Kelseyville?
No, I don't know how it started, but I know I was in there that night when the farmers were bringing their spray rigs in. And at Doherty's grocery store, which they lived above that, my gosh, the cans were just popping and blowing up all over the place. And then there was Barrett's grocery store also. There were 2 grocery stores burned in that.
At one time in Kelseyville, there was about, what, 3 or 4 grocery stores?
There was at least 4.
Yeah.
There was a red and white, but that was built later. And then there was what is now the food center. There was Barrett's grocery store. There was Dory's grocery store. And John's came later. John's Market. John's Market at one time.
Where Kelseyville Lumber was, right there on Main Street.
That was
That was a-
Robinson's.
That was a grocery store.
That was Robinson's grocery store.
GNR grocery store when I came here.
Was it?
About Kelseyville, I read somewhere that there used to be a movie theater that was forced to close.
Yeah, that was a grocery
I
store.
read somewhere that there used to be a movie theater that was forced to close.
That one, the
because
food center, the
gas-
Kelseyville
gas
Lumber
bill.
site, and John's Market across the street.
Do you know anything
Oh,
about that?
no, I can remember they had movies in
They used to have
the
movies in the Oddfellows Hall.
Oddfellows Hall, yeah. I was just trying to think.
Lumber, 46.
Oh, I bet I didn't bring the picture.
Blue.
Looking for this one?
But there was also,
No, there's another grocery
there
store.
was also half a dozen gas stations in Kelseyville back
Yeah,
in those days.
but the 2 Jacks was one. the
3
last
that I
one
can
built.
remember.
Well, there was
Where
the
the fire-
Standard Oil, Harmon's Standard Station when I came here, And there was John's Richfield, Smith's,
Yeah.
Union 76,
Bantry's had a shell station.
Four that I remember
Kenny
now.
Shell Station,
Yeah,
and then they built the one across the street from the high school.
yeah. I can remember the four of them, Harmon's, Smith's, and the one across from the fire department.
Kenny Shell Station. It was Holden Reed Shell Station.
Didn't he have a handicap, like one
That
arm or
shell
one leg or
station,
something?
that shell station belonged
Yeah, he
to
did.
Bantry's originally.
Yeah, Bantry.
And Bantry's sold it.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't sell, well, they kinda sold it.
But
It closed.
there was quite a few gas stations. Kelseyville had a lot of businesses at one time that are no longer there.
I can remember a wooden sidewalk in Kelseyville,
How many times did Kelseyville burn, Floraine? Do you remember?
twice that I know of.
Didn't it burn again later on in the early 70s on the north side?
Yeah,
When Phillips had the hardware store in there?
yeah.
Oh, yes, it did.
Because that was all rebuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a little mall looking
That's
thing
where
in there
their
now.
mother
That
was.
was
Here's the picture.
different then. Yeah,
This is about Kelseyville.
it was.
This is called the William Johnson Grocery Store. It's located on the property
Mid-70s probably.
now occupied by, it says a Union 76 station. Well, that's,
She's Smith's gas station.
it's right across the street from Kelseyville, the old Kelseyville Loblaws.
Yeah.
And it was, this Johnson sold, buggies. It was a grocery store first, and then he sold buggies. And the family, anyone can read this if they want. The family lived in what they call the Shellhorn House in Kelseyville.
Oh, yeah, I remember
And that is the one that Holden Reed's made into a bed and breakfast for a while, that two-story house, and that's where the Johnsons lived, in that house. And there's a picture here of a Ken Wills, and it says, it says, in remarkable condition, this is a sign of the past held by Bill Wills. His son Kenny found it under an old house in Kelseyville, under which he was putting a new foundation. It was a puzzle for a time, until Verna Rao recalled the circumstances. And it's a picture of the sign for that, for the Johnson grocery store. And I have I can leave this picture with you if you want. Then I have a picture of, I'll leave all these pictures here and anyone can look at them. It's just a picture that was taken of Elmer Dorothy Watkins and Evelyn Watkins. I don't know if you remember Flory Watkins that used to have the brick tavern in Kelseyville. Well, it was his family. Anyway, this picture was taken in December the 25th, 1911 on 3rd and Tunis. And this house in the background was Dr. Browning's house, which would be the grandfather of the Dr. Browning, who is the eye doctor now. And we're my daughter-in-law, Marcia, is going to take a picture of this to Dr. Browning.
Wow.
And
That's in Lakeport.
I doubt very much.
That's in Lakeport.
Yeah, the eye doctor. And then I have 3 pictures of the Cache Creek Dam, if anyone is interested in looking at them. What else do I have? Oh, this is just a picture taken of Lakeport. I have a picture of the big old building in Lakeport on the northwest corner of 3rd and Main. And you can see where it is falling down. And this was taken right after the earthquake in 1906, the San Francisco earthquake. You can see the top of it, you can see that it's fallen apart.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
And I don't know if anyone is interested in the dam.
Is there, and then the barber shop, the jeweler and the barber shop. That's built. That's what that is.
And I don't know if the Historical Society has this. This is the Highland Springs Hotel.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
remember
that.
that.
And
The
you
way
could,
station.
it tells all about what you can do here, and,
And it
you
burned
could,
too.
you could ride it from Highland Springs, I guess, to Lakeport for $1.50.
What's that? No, they,
I don't think it burned.
In
It's
some
never
place, a
burned.
Oh, I
round
thought
trip
they-
from San
they tore it down
Francisco
when they built the lake.
to
Yeah.
the Highland Springs Resort. Round trip is from San Francisco was $8. And there's a picture of the hotel here on the back.
Oh, that's great.
And this is a letter that was written by, and it was to Elmer Watkins, that's Floraine Watkins, I think grandfather, but I'm not sure. And it just says, Elmer Watkins, Lakeport. Dear Elmer, can you and Velma come out to dinner next Sunday evening? We're asking 2 or 3 other couples, and this is written by R.F. Kerr, which is one of the old names. And it's on Highland Springs Hotel stationery.
When I
Their
first
picture
came to
on the top.
When I first came to Kelseyville, Woods, Dr. Woods owned that hotel and stuff like that.
Dr. Woods bought that piece of property, and where the hotel was, he used, the hotel itself was, he remodeled it, and that was his home. He had a very nice home out there, and he was very happy with his home. Till the county decided to put in Highland Springs Dam. And that's when he lost his home.
Was
No,
that
the one
eminent
you got in
domain?
there.
And the Highlands, out at Highland Springs, they have mineral springs.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Talk about that, since you
Oh.
talked about this.
I don't know, should I talk about it or let her read it?
No, talk about it.
Okay, this is a 1961, an essay contest. It was in my mother's stack of papers. She saved quite a few things. And it's written by Larry Larson in Kelseyville.
Yeah.
Larry Larson is married to Dietmar and Lois Ranker's daughter. And Larry's father was a school teacher in Lakeport. And Larry Larson is still alive, he lives in Kelseyville.
Maureen, he was a teacher in Kelsey.
Larry Larson
Oh, yeah, so was his father.
was a principal in Kelseyville.
Yeah, wasn't he the principal in
Lloyd-
Kelsey?
Well, this,
When I went to school there, he was the principal.
I'll read his little essay. He got a 3rd prize on it.
Oh,
And this was in 1961.
oh,
It says in the early 1900s, the main way in and out of Lake County was the Highland Springs Toll Road. This road went over the hills to Hopland, a distance of about 18 miles. The dirt road was kept up from the fees paid by the people who traveled on it. The toll gate was located 6 miles from the Lake County boundary. The charge was 25 cents to $1, 25 cents to $1.50, depending on your means of transportation. Each spring, the road would be smoothed out by horse-drawn graders pulled by 4 to 6 horses. About 30 wagons traveled on the toll road every day. These wagons were pulled by horses weighing about 1,500 pounds apiece. The wagons hauled pears, prunes, and grapes. When the wagons reached Hopland, their loads were put on the Northwestern Traffic Railroad train. The wagon drivers stayed overnight at Thatcher's Pomo Inn. The inn had 2 livery stables. The trip to Hopland took about 10 hours. The wagon drivers received $1.25 a day, plus their room and board. Twice a day, the stagecoach would go over the toll road. The stage carried mail and passengers. They changed horses at the Highland Springs Resort, the largest resort in Lake County at that time. They then proceeded to Lakeport. One time the stage was held up. A man on horseback ambushed the stage and got away with the Wells Fargo box. He was soon captured. Well, I don't know what happened here. It says he was soon captured. Highland Springs Toll Road continued, however, another time the stage tipped over when Dick Johnson was driving. When Harry Tallman, a longtime Kelseyville businessman who recently passed away, was driving the stage in 1914, he had an exciting adventure. On one of his trips, he had a woman passenger who was to be a school teacher in Upper Lake. A log fell across the road and the stage couldn't get through. Mr. Tallman was forced to carry the exhausted lady many miles before they finally reached the Highland Springs Resort. In 1921, another road, Highway 16, was built to take the place of the toll road. This road, known as the Hopland Grade, provides safer travel into Lake County. Well, everyone knows that as the Hopland Mountain. The ideas for my story were related by Mr. Rex Gatton. He drove one of the wagons that traveled over the Highland Springs toll road. Mr. Gatton drove the first big tractor in Lake County in the year 1925. A former Kelseyville American Legion commander, Mr. Gatton, has owned a restaurant and pear orchard in Big Valley. He now resides in Findlay. Well, he and his son are both passed away now. Anyway, this is an essay written by by Larry Larson.
You're throwing your stuff away.
And anybody that wants to read that, my mother, I guess, was just very interested in it, and she saved it in her stuff. And I don't know if you want to, I could pass around these pictures. I can go around or something of the Highland Springs or the Cache Creek Dam.
That's the good one.
And this is the old Orpheum Theater from Lakeport. Just a picture of it. Yeah, Lakeport. If you went, you had to cover your mouth because of the gnats were so bad.
I guess it was gone before I came along.
Where was it located?
I can remember, yes,
But I-
that high, I mean,
I can take it right now.
I don't know where that was.
She said in
Where was that located?
Yeah, where was it?
Highland Springs, the Cache Creek Dam?
No.
the theater.
The Orpheum.
Orpheum.
Yeah.
It was right past where Jackie's Flowers are.
Oh,
Right,
sorry.
there was
It was in Lakeport.
It was in Lakeport.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was in Lakeport.
You guys already see that one?
That's why nobody knew where it was.
Wasn't it out on the water, Floraine, the Orpheum Theater?
I thought it was there where Jackie's Flowers
It's
are.
right there
There
in
was a
town?
theater there where Jackie's Flowers are.
Okay.
Or right in that area, right on the corner.
There used to be a roller skating rink right there too.
Yeah.
The Western Auto.
Yep.
Yeah, Western Auto.
I wanted to see that.
Floraine,
Remember
what,
that one, don't you, Bob? I know Mike
But that's the
remembers.
one I'm looking.
And I don't know why this picture.
I don't remember
this
the
was
Western Auto.
Tunis and Lakeport.
Yeah, it was right there where Jackie's Flowers is now.
It was on the corner where Caldwell Banker is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, going back now, speaking of it, I can remember buying a lawnmower there years and years ago.
There was one in Clear Lake also.
Where was that, Bob?
What was it?
Western Auto.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
store.
Yeah, Western
It was
Auto.
right on the corner there.
Yeah.
Floraine, when you were in school in Kelseyville, was there a lot of competition between Lakeport and Kelseyville?
Yes, that's where the main competition. Kelseyville and Lakeport were always battling against each other.
Did some of the Kelseyville kids that go to Lakeport to do things? Because Lakeport was a bigger community, right?
No, it was just mainly on sports.
The sports?
On sports like football, basketball, things like
I
that.
like to think that there wasn't a lot of competition. Lakeport was just trying to catch up to Kelseyville.
I remember one time when the Kelseyville Lakeport football game was on, when the kids went up on the hill up by Hoppin and lit a fire, built a big K up there, and lit it on fire. They used to play all their games at the fairgrounds on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have any lights at any place else.
Right, there were no night lights. And my hobby is painting. That's the best I can, that's everything I know.
Those are the things you painted.
That's your work there too?
Yeah,
If anybody wants to look at some of the pictures, I brought a book that has some pictures in it.
and you were telling me an interesting story about where you find the pots to paint?
Oh, Most of them are found in yard sales because I like to paint on metal that has dents in it. And so most of the things are found in yard sales in the box that says free. Because nobody wants them because they're bent up. That's the ones I want.
That's beautiful work.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
I originally painted with oils. I originally did photo tinting. That's how I got started painting. And that was when there were no color films. And later there was color film, and then I started working a little bit with more oil, and I started painting with oil on canvas, and now I have switched to acrylics.
And you worked for the Bank of America for how long?
23 years.
And how long at the Lower Lake Branch? All 23 years?
No. No, I was in Kelseyville, and I was in,
Clear Lake.
I was in Lower Lake, and then in September of, when was it? 1962, September 17th, I think. They opened Bank of America in Clear Lake. Actually, it was Clear Lake Highlands at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was transferred to Kelseyville in 1971, I think. And I was there till 78, 79.
Did you often get that much snow?
No, I think that's why the picture was taken. I didn't take the picture.
That was probably in 46.
Yeah.
That picture.
Yeah. And now I work for the Department of Agriculture. Actually for the state, well, for the National Division, that's who I'm employed by. I do work for the state. And I do the fruit acreage for Lake and Napa counties. And now I'm starting my 24th year on that. And I'm ready to quit.
Could you explain what the food acreage is? I'm kind of a novice about that. I'd be very interested. What's food acreage?
If somebody pulls out a vineyard or replants a vineyard, if it's a new vineyard, I set it up and write it up and send it into the state. Or if they maybe graft a vineyard into a different variety. This way they know how many grapes were planted and what varieties are there, which they will know how much juice there is for wine. And then I'm sure it determines the price of your wine. But I also do things besides grapes. I do all fruit. And vegetables. It's food. It's actually the food and drug part of the state. And it's kind of interesting. It's very interesting in Napa County. You see a lot of beautiful places.
So you can actually,
I really thought I had quit a couple of years ago, but I keep getting
Shouldn't have an
more.
office. You have to go out to the field.
Wow, that's
Got it
wonderful.
back.
So you're-
Good.
You're a living legend of all these different changes, because you've worked with these vineyards for so long. Must be pretty interesting how they change and everything. New
Yeah,
owners and
it's
all
more
that.
interesting how many have gone in.
Yeah.
Interesting the fact
We
that
never
it used
used
to
to
be a lot
have too many, but there are a couple places in Lake County that there were very old vineyards.
Yeah.
Like the Dieners, out at the Diener place and that. So there, but not too many, but,
There was grapes years ago here and then they took them out.
right.
And planted pears.
Yep.
Then pears.
And walnuts.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Now the
that
pears
was
are pretty well
Prohibition
out.
when they took the
The
grapes out. Yeah.
There's not all that many pears left. There still are quite a few pears left, but nothing like it used to be.
Sad.
And many of the walnuts are on their way out. The drought has really affected the walnuts, and just where I live, we're losing about 14 acres of walnuts.
Oh, are you?
This is the 3 years of drought. The walnuts can handle 2 years, but 3 years will take them. The Frankis, but some of the Chandlers and the other varieties, which are hybrids, I think they probably will last longer. But the Frankis are, you might as well kiss them goodbye. They're just.
Yeah, we have problems on the Lower Lake.
Do you know who owned the old ranch house? If you go up here and you take Diener Road to the right, and you kind of go back in, there's an old ranch house right on.
The Dieners own it.
The Dieners own it. How long ago? Do you know how long they've been in the area?
Well, I don't know, but they were there before my mother was born.
Yeah, I think
They're a very old family.
I was looking. I think I saw in the 1890 county.
They were
map.
bootleggers. Bootleggers.
They were bootleggers?
Did they do pretty good? Was
I'm
the business
serious,
good?
they really were.
Huh.
they were,
Curious.
and the Barkers were.
Yeah.
I noticed the
And
how about out
1890
there in
map
Morgan
actually
Valley,
has O. Diener
Morgan Valley out there.
on the 1890
Yeah,
map. I don't
it's
know.
a very
top
old
name?
family.
Yeah.
And some of the family is still living on the ranch.
I didn't see anything in the county
didn't they
history
have a,
book
wasn't
about
they
them,
a
so that's why I
still a
was
bootlegger
wondering.
out
They're
there?
bootleggers.
Yeah. So they wouldn't be in the history book.
The Barkers were in Middletown, and at Barkerville, up on the Bartlett Springs Road.
One of the Barkers had a place out by, right by Charlie Klug's place on Highland Springs or Adobe Creek Road. And actually it's a shirt-tailed relative of my mother. And that was from Barkersville.
Yeah,
But
Barker,
they did have a place in Kelseyville too.
and they had, Middletown was where they operated out of for a long time. But they're still.
Well, in the 50 years I've been in Lake County, there's been so many changes. There's been so much change.
My father's sister was married to Al Unterwitter, who is Albert Donner Unterwitter, and he's part of the Donner family.
Wow.
And I do have the history of the Donners at home because, well, my second cousin, I guess my mother's cousin, who was a Donner, has all of the history of the Donners. And I do have a copy of that at home. That was Bill Unterwitter that did that.
So it's been very interesting.
Yes, it
Very
is.
good.
Thank you very much for
Thank you
for enlightening
sharing
us.
it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other history here. You know, you could talk for 3 days and never cover everything.
I can remember when you talked about the toll road. Henry Malden talked one time to us at a Rotary. And he told about the toll road, and they were hauling hogs across there. And the wagon tipped over, and the hogs scattered. And that was the beginning of the wild hogs.
Oh, really?
They're all descendants of that total.
Huh.
Is that right?
I used to talk to an old man, an old friend, that used to come by and see me in my office out there when I worked for Niagara Chemicals, Cecil Blower.
Yeah.
He said that he came over that hopping, and his dad drove mule teams over that Paeta grade road, they called it then, the old hopping toll road. And it was really interesting. He was a very interesting man.
I can remember
You remember
riding.
Cecil Blower?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew him. I can remember riding over Hopland Mountain when I was younger with my parents. And you could not pass a car every place. There were places where one car would have to back up so the other one could go through.
That was the same now.
Yeah.
No, it's better, but it's.
You know, after Bill and I got married, we bought a piece of property from, was it your father or your uncle?
Uncle.
Your uncle, on Buckingham Park. Unfortunately, it was, I think about 2.5 acres or so.
Could be.
It was right by that orange orchard. Nice piece of property. And we made a big mistake. We sold it for $7,500.
Yeah.
But I think we bought it for $45.
You made some
And we
money.
thought, well,
Yeah.
but you know,
You made
it was
some
kind of foolish to sell it for what we sold it for.
Oh, Well, a lot of those pieces bought and sold. Uncle
Yeah.
Lee bought and sold some of them more than once.
Tressa's grandfather was a well driller here in Lake County many years ago.
Hummel.
I'm a well driller. And her brother-in-law told me about stories of where they drilled wells over here on the mountain, Mount Kanaka, out by Kanaka Bay, and they got nothing but hot water on it. All hot water on it.
They get 160-degree water over there above Kanaka Bay.
Yeah.
Tressa's grandparents, the Hummels, and my grandparents were very close friends because they came from Bakersfield or someplace.
Kalinga.
Kalinga. And they were very close friends, and of course we lived not too far apart. And then your mother and father and my mother and father remained good friends just like that.
Yeah.
And now here I am friends with, we've had about three generations of close friends right there.
Yeah.
And we're still on the same properties almost,
Yeah.
almost.
Uncle Lee was friends with them, and he was a well driller. Although
I didn't know that.
not physically, but he drilled an oil well in Lake County, the only one ever drilled, I guess, out on Wild's property.
Oh, way out there.
Way out in Wilds. And they went broke because they couldn't get down deep enough. But he still maintained till he died that there's oil there. And there's some shale rock out there someplace in the creek. And there's oil that seep out of that shale.
Wow.
But they were down, they didn't have enough money and the equipment to get down deep enough to get oil. But I can remember down in the shop at Buckingham, he had the drilling bits down there yet that they used. Big three gears on the drilling bits. And I don't know how deep they went, but I think they only got down like 1,500 feet or something. And they didn't have enough money to keep going.
It's funny, there are a lot of old timers.
Well, when did this all burn off one time? Didn't this all burn at one time?
It did, and actually, you know who burned in it? Was Carrie. What was the Carrie boy's name?
Joe O'Neill burned in it,
Well, but the Carrie was with him.
and the two of them burned.
Yeah.
But they're they crawled underneath the dozer.
Conrad Carey.
Conrad Carey, yeah,
Burned.
and Joe O'Neill, and they crawled under the cabin.
What year was
You
that?
mean they burned?
So it accidentally
It was
burned?
it was right after the Korean War because Connie lived in Lower Lake, and on Saturday nights or weekends, Connie always came in the fountain that we had in town, and we were always busy on Saturday nights because that was
It's about 59 or 60.
Yeah, or maybe a little before that even. I don't know, but I know where Connie's grave is at the cemetery. I'm gonna look.
58 or 59 it burned. Boy, that was a big fire.
It was a big fire, burned all this, and it burned up Bottle Rock Road and up in there.
When he went in the service,
Gonna
Connie wrote to
happen
me
again
all the
one of these
time.
days.
Yes, it is.
And then when he came back, we were always friends, but not boyfriend and girlfriend, but we were always close friends. And that's an old family, the Carey family.
The other side of Kanaktai is going to burn someday, and it hasn't burned. I don't know when, but in 1955 I walked it, and in 55 you walk off the other side of Buckingham Peak. The brush is so thick, you'd walk out in the brush and you just sink about 30 feet. And I walked down there. By the time I got to the bottom, I didn't have a shirt on.
Have you walked up where the, I don't know what it's called, it's up there on the mountain. There's huge rocks up there and it's steep, it's dangerous. I was hiking up there once and we didn't know which way to turn around and go back. We couldn't keep going forward. There's a lot of stuff up there on that mountain.
I've crawled a lot of it. I've spent
Up
40
there.
years up there crawling
Up there,
around.
on the other side of Oak, what they call the
Black Forest.
Black Forest.
Yeah.
There's some big rocky bluffs and cliffs up there.
Well, if you go up there, there's about a 40, no, more than that, probably 100-acre shelf. And those, when you look up the Black Forest from the golf course, it looks like the trees all go the same. But those big trees up there must be, by now they must be that big around.
Wow.
And they're hundreds feet high. And then just off of that shelf, they're shorter.
But that Black Forest is the last old growth trees in Lake County.
Up where the
Oh, that's been-
cabin is, up on where
That's
the
been-
walnut orchard
that's
is
been
up on
harvested
Clementine.
That's it?
Off to the right of that, there are some huge
That's
oak
been
trees,
logged.
and that's where Old Man Howard is buried in one of them, because I saw the rock where he's buried.
Yeah, there's a rock that's actually marked.
Yeah, rock, was it? No,
Yeah.
but there are some
And the
huge
bucket
big oak
cabin used
trees.
to live
I,
up there.
I had heard that that's the furthest south where you can find those are golden oak trees, which is why they're so huge. And apparently it's the furthest south that they grow in the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're mostly up in Oregon
Well,
and
they're huge
further
up
north.
there.
Yeah,
There's a nice grove of them up there.
yeah, they're beautiful trees.
Has anyone found any of the, what I call funnels from the volcanic, when there's been so many eruptions? I'm just curious, because there's always
Vents?
myths almost saying, the vents, yes. I was curious if any of you have ever come across one, probably.
I haven't, but it's almost
Washed out.
like Vince and Soda Bay there,
There are some.
Yeah.
There's supposedly one that goes all the way down, and there's a lake underneath that. And if you drop a stick in that one, it'll come out and sort of.
My parents used to tell me about that.
I heard once that there was a power pole, they were putting a power pole or some kind of a pole on a mountain, right there on the other side. And it just dropped out of sight. They said it just disappeared. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I've heard of well drillers that going up there and trying to drill wells, and the tools would break through and they would go and go and go and never touch the bottom of the cable.
There really is no water up there if you just drill a well up on the mountain. But still, things really grow up there.
There's Buckingham used to live up there. And the cistern by the foundation of that house is still, you can see it up there.
I've seen the cistern.
It's up there in the saddle.
Years ago, when I was working for Henry Malden, I would type the file cards for his notes, and I'd sit there in his living room, for hours, and we'd talk about stuff. And he told me about the cave up on the top of the mountain. He says there has been a landslide and it's sealed off now, but apparently back in the old days, the family that was the Howard family was worried that maybe there would be some dangerous gases or something in there, so that he said they went in there with a kerosene lantern on a rope, and there was a drop off, and they lowered it to the end of the rope and never saw the bottom of it. And so the next thing they did was they took a bale of hay, lit it on fire, and kicked it off the edge, and they never saw it get the bottom of it. He said you could drop a rock and you would never hear the rock hit anything in the bottom. So that's why he thinks it has water in it, because if a rock hits another rock, you're going to hear it. If it hits water, sometimes it's you wouldn't hear it. But yeah, those were the stories that he had heard. I don't know if he ever went there. These were just stories that were told him by the family.
My mother said that when she was younger, a group of school kids were taken up on the mountain, up where the volcano was. But she said at that time there was like a wire fence around it, and you couldn't walk to where the opening was. But the kids were taken up to where the like a fence. It wasn't a fence really, but a wire put around it.
Has anyone ever seen the underwater geysers in Soda Bay?
Yeah,
Okay.
right up on the rocks, out by the rocks.
Yeah.
It comes right up in the lake.
Yeah, I was back in the 80s, I think. I was across from Soda Bay up on, I think it's called Bald Hill or something, above Paradise Valley. And I was out doing some work, and I had just stopped for lunch, and I was sitting down eating my lunch, and I looked out into Soda Bay. There were 4 or 5 different places where the water was boiling up at such a force that the surface of the lake was this much higher than all around it. Some of them were going continuously, and some of them would go for a couple of minutes and then stop, and then 5 minutes later they'd start up again. And I had never seen it before, and I've never seen it
Well,
since.
there's a spring there at Soda
right there
Bay.
at the soda baths.
Yeah,
That's
the soda
Yeah, the soda baths.
I'm talking about underwater geysers that
The
are
soda
actually
baths.
picking up so much water that
We
they.
used to go in the soda baths
Yeah.
over there.
Oh,
There was a
yeah.
That's
hotel
the
there.
same place, I think.
That's terrible. They had to
And at one
close
time,
it.
at one time
It
of the
was
year where the
between where
soda
the soda
baths
baths
are,
are
they said it would just be
and
full of
Buckingham
snakes
Point.
around there.
That area between the soda bath and Buckingham
yeah.
Point is where all of these
Snakes like
places
water?
were.
What'd you
I
say?
Some
have
of them
only
were
seen
only
them,
about
I've
10 or
never been in
15
them.
feet across. Some of them were
I've been
30,
in them.
40 feet across.
Oh, the soda baths, me too, many times.
Wasn't there a person killed or died out there?
Yeah, well, just got drunk and
Several people.
Yeah.
started it.
I was just,
Suffocated.
Yeah, some idiot ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
drunks
excuse
that
me.
didn't know
Yeah.
how to get out of it.
Yeah,
I was
so,
just
yeah.
reading in the county history book, that 1881 history book, about one of the early settlers here had gone out and ended up dying in that, back in the 1880s, I think. So it's been a problem for a long time.
well,
It has, and then now they close it so nobody can go in them.
Yeah.
but you know, you'd get down in there and you knew that you better get back up,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it'll kind of get to you, but this stupid, well, anyway, the guy was drunk and.
Right, if you're dumb enough and
Yeah.
drunk enough, you won't.
Right,
think
but it's really too bad that they
I've
had
been near them,
to.
but I have never.
You
been
never
in
even
'em.
went in them?
It's like sitting
Yeah.
in a giant bromo seltzer.
Yeah,
There was a hotel
It
there.
is.
I know- I
If you
heard,
look
yeah.
at it,
Fascinating,
it's
but then
full of
it
I
would
never
burn
saw
down
it,
or
but-
somebody
yeah.
closed it down because it was right on the shore, right? And then you
Right.
just go, the thing
He's
is
been
up
there.
there.
He's been everywhere.
A lot of Indian driving holes in that island.
Well, I'm gonna have to run along.
and what is your name?
I'm glad you came out.
What is his name?
I don't remember.
You didn't hear?
He comes to the fiddler's thing every
Well, I
month.
wasn't gonna give any talk, I just said I'll be there if somebody has questions, I'll try to answer them.
That's all this is just kind of people sitting around. In fact, this
The old, I'm still working. I'm still working, so.
that's what we need. That's what I like this.